Welcome to Process Mining for Order to Cash, Process Performance, and Conformance. My name is Daniel Hughes. I'm the Vice President at Mindsy. Mindsy is the leading process mining software company founded and headquartered in North America. I've spent the last several years helping companies use process mining to improve business processes from conventional things like procure to pay and order to cash to more unconventional processes like electric vehicle charging and using IoT data, construction planning for large data center projects, and even using sensor data from aircrafts to reverse engineer aircraft flights. Today, we're going to look at order to cash. And as we go through the agenda, we'll first talk about the new stakeholder expectations for order to cash. We'll look at what process mining is and what it does. And then I'll dive into 5 uses for order to cash or for process mining in order to cash. At the end, I'll save time for some question and answers. If you have questions during the presentation, please enter them in the Q&A chat, and I'll go through as many of those as I can get to at the end. So, as the economy is shifting, people are being tasked to do more with less. Stakeholders expect the order to cash process to function effectively and very efficiently. And McKinsey recently released a study that showed that leading organizations are building targets around 3 areas of their order to cash process. First is opportunity to order. Second is order to invoice. And third is invoice to cash. These are typically pretty high standards that companies are trying to meet, like 80% of their standard deals having standard pricing and a standard offering and standard contracts. These aren't necessarily the largest deals that a company closes, but the typical deal, executives expect those deals to be very, very standard. They also are trying to reduce revenue leakage to less than 1%. To do that, they're going to need visibility and alerts at every step of their order entry process to make sure that pricing is standard and they're not missing anything. Order to invoice is also very important. Companies would like today the standard to be greater than 90% of their invoices captured electronically, delivered electronically, and without errors, and having a 95% on-time delivery rate, and not just on-time delivery, but perfect on-time delivery, not delivering more or less than was promised. And then last, really important in this new era or this new economy is being able to collect the cash and collect that cash very, very quickly. So want a less than 5-day gap in best in class for days sales outstanding, and having 99.5% or better of their invoices paid without dispute. To be able to hit these targets, revenue leakage across all of these must be identified and eliminated. And the same study identified 4 different areas of revenue leakage in the order to cash process. First, and maybe one of the biggest, is invalid deductions. Actually met with a $1 billion, a little bit over $1 billion manufacturer the other day that told me in their accounts payable department, their head of accounts payable told me that they pay and take early pay discounts on every invoice that they pay, and they tend to pay 5 to 10 days late from the due date. So I asked him, hey, this should lead to a lot of in payment discrepancies and protests, and he said it actually didn't. That they almost got no invalid deduction blowback from their suppliers, which means these suppliers probably aren't finding the invalid deductions and are, we'll talk about it later, but just writing those off. So the study showed that somewhere around half of those invalid deductions could be identified and eliminated using AI tools to find them. Straight through orders are really, really important. If you can take the order with standard terms, standard contracts, no errors in products, and deliver that to your customer, you could reduce that by over half, reduce your revenue leakage in that part of the process by over half using things like e-commerce portals, so that customers could pick the products that they need, or electronic catalogs to eliminate the order errors. Payment terms could be a big issue. You might have customers with multiple contracts that end up with multiple payment terms. By identifying and eliminating those, you could probably come up with somewhere just under half of the revenue leakage there eliminated. So if you can find customers with different payment terms or multiple payment terms, renegotiate that to a standard contract and standard term, reduce revenue leakage there. And then past due bad debt, right? Do you have past due customers that are paying late, whose invoices are past due, and you've written that off as bad debt when it might be collectible? Is another area to look for revenue leakage. The McKinsey study showed that somewhere just under 50% of that could be clawed back using predictive algorithms and to identify those high-risk customers. But to be able to do that, you have to look into your process and find those areas of revenue leakage. People have tried to do that for a long time using standard BI tools, right? Looking at things like Power BI or Tableau and Click, and they get standard KPIs that everybody's using in their order to cash process. Things like day sales outstanding or bad debt percentage or cost to serve or even auto cash application rate. But that's not really telling the story of your order to cash process. There's a lot of uncovered KPIs and metrics that process mining can deliver for you. So in order intake, you want to look at things like first time right or unfilled or on hold orders or days to confirmation of the order. By reducing the amount of time in order intake and the errors in order intake, you can deliver product faster, deliver invoices faster, and collect from the customer faster. Shipment is another area, supply chains and delivering the product to your customers. Can you look at your process and find perfect order delivery rate, perfect order on-time delivery rate? And process mining can help you uncover that. Invoicing errors or average days to issue or unbilled sales orders, right? Every day that you don't invoice your customer is potentially a day that you're not going to be able to collect, right? It's another day of day sales outstanding that you're not collecting from your customer, which is reducing your working capital. And then payments, right? Are you writing off short payments as bad debt? And can you identify potential customers that are short paying and go and collect for them or renegotiate your payment terms? All of those are areas of revenue leakage that process mining can help you uncover in your order to cash process. So let's take a step back and talk about what process mining is, right? Process mining is an analytical technique that uses data inside of your ERP system to reverse engineer your business processes and uses algorithms to uncover all of the things or some of the things at least that are going wrong in your process. So it takes process mapping and process management from an exercise in opinion to a data-driven process or a data-driven exercise in process modeling and monitoring. So process mining uses the algorithms from the extracted data to reverse engineer your process and show you exactly what's going on, show you every way that your process is executed, and showing you process performance, process conformance, and areas of automation. It's not just used for order to cash. We're going to talk about order to cash today, but process mining can be used across any business process that's recorded in your ERP system, whether it's procure to pay, order to cash, specifically accounts payable or accounts receivable, lead to order, hire to retire, record to report, or even less common scenarios like airport queuing using cameras or cell phone data to track customers through an airport, through security, through the line with the agents, or even using IoT data from technology devices to track what does it take for a customer to get ready to charge their vehicle to actually completing the charge. So lots and lots of processes across the business where process mining can help. For order to cash, there's 5 ways that process mining helps improve your order to cash process. First is process discovery, then cycle time optimization, resource optimization, helping you identify where you have not enough, too many poorly trained resources, conformance to the ideal process, and then automation, identifying areas that you might want to streamline by implementing some automation. Process discovery. Now, this is traditionally done through subject matter expert interviews, sitting down in a whiteboarding session, using Post-it notes. Even I saw on the internet the other day, somebody created a hallway long process map using Post-it notes. But process mining doesn't use those opinions to do that. It uses the data in your system to show you what's actually happening in your business process. And then identifying the root cause of some of the common order to cash problems like on-time delivery or poor on-time delivery, delays in your order confirmation to customers, delays in order fulfillment, late payments resulting in cash flow, or lots and lots of order changes. So once the data is pulled from your ERP system, process mining creates a process map from the start of the process through all the steps that happen in the process, all the way to the end, showing you how many cases went through every step, showing you cycle time from step to step or task time, overall cycle time of the process, and also all the different ways that your process was executed, or what we call variants. From the ideal process variants to non-conforming variants to one-off variants, way down in at the end of the tail of your process execution. All the things that you can't get from a process mapping exercise, process mining can show you the way that's happening in a simple process discovery just by connecting process mining up to your systems. Second is cycle time optimization, right? From a single view, you can get everything that you need to know about the cycle time of your process to help improve the way that's executed. Everything from the time that every single task in your process takes on average, as a mean, total over the last year. You can look at every different timing or cycle time for a specific step. You can look at resource idle time. Do you have people that sit and wait on work to get to them? Maybe you could reallocate those resources so that they can better utilize their time. On the opposite end of that, you'll be able to see bottlenecks in your process. Do you have a lot of work that piles up in one group that's waiting on people to be able to get to it and execute it? Maybe you need to reallocate resources from an idle group to your bottleneck group. Then you can actually compare or model what happens if you move those resources. Do you complete your bottleneck step faster and just simply move that bottleneck to the next step in the process? All of that can be done and can be modeled through the data that's in your ERP system, and process mining helps you with that. It also can show you rework, right? Do you have people that are doing a job, and then because of the poor work, it gets sent back to a step before them, or again sent back to them, and they have to self loop and rework and do the same work over and over? And how does that rework impact the overall cycle time of your process? And then you can compare order to cash, right? You can compare your order to cash process business to business, month to month, year to year, customer to customer, vendor to vendor, right? If you need products to be able to create the order and ship it out, side by side, you can compare the way your process was executed. At Mindsy, through our process, our setup process, we allow you to determine what's good, average, and great for cycle times for every step or every process, and then look at the root causes for your extremely slow orders, for example. So once we mine the process, you decide that 10 days late is extremely bad. We can identify the customers, the products, the people, the resources that are most likely to deliver 10 days or more late, so that you can improve your customer satisfaction, improve your on-time delivery, and have happier customers that pay faster. We talked a little bit about resource optimization, but the way people do their job is really important. And the way you assign resources to the task in your process is one of the key drivers of your process efficiency and optimization. So process mining in order to cash can focus on two places. Focus on what's going wrong in the process, identify redundancies or underperforming employees, find all those bottlenecks, and allow you to reshuffle the headcount from one place to another to improve those bottlenecks. Or maybe it's as simple as resource retraining. So maybe you need to go in, identify the bottleneck, retrain those resources on how to do the job better, or do the job more correctly, to improve that step in the process. But it can also identify what's going right. It can identify where the steps in the process are flowing smoothly, or company to company, what's going right in one company that's not in another. And even through mergers and acquisitions. I talked to a multi-billion-dollar company the other day that was going through a merger of equals, and they really wanted to be able to compare how one company was doing their order to cash versus another, and do they have things that they could learn from one company or the other to have a really streamlined and strong on-time delivery process, that by combining the best of both of those companies. In Mindsy, we look at that as wasted man hours. So we have a report right out of the box that can show you every step of the process, update sales order value or update sales order quantity, how many man hours are being wasted at each one of those steps, how many resources does it take to do those steps, what's the cost of those resources, and what's the total dollar amount that's being wasted by waiting or bottlenecks or rework in every step of that process. Then process conformance, right? We know that there's a ideal way to execute the order to cash process. We know that there's service level agreements, there's regulations, there's internal policies that mean you need to check the conformance of the way your process is executed. Process mining allows you to set the ideal process, or what we call the happy path, and then compare every case or every order against what you've deemed as a conforming process. This helps you find things like unbilled sales orders, or approval blocks, credit approval blocks, or delivery approval blocks. Do you have terms or contract approvals that are being skipped? credit checks, unauthorized payment terms, unauthorized pricing, right? You have sales reps that are pricing the products however they want, and it's not going through the approved approval process, or even import and export controls. So in the Mindsy Studio and any process mining, you have the ability to set to identify conforming cases and non-conforming cases, identify non-conforming cases that take a long time to execute, and have immediate alerts that tell you, hey, you've got an order from one of your top customers, your high value customers, that's going through a standard order process, and it's going to be entered late, it's going to be delivered late, and they're going to be unhappy. And by modeling every way or mining every way that your process happens, you can look at every single case in your process, see every single step, and identify if you have high issue conformance problems, mid severity conformance problems, or low severity problems, and triage and work on what's most important to you at that particular step in your process that's actually going to impact your order to cash and what you're trying to accomplish. And then finally, automation, right? A lot of people these days are trying to do more with less. And one way to do that is to automate manual, time-consuming, redundant steps in your process. So process mining allows you to find automation candidates, map the process for automation, merge deviations into a single model, and then monitor the way that automation is performing, and allow you to ensure that the entire process is performing better, and not just the specific step that you automated. And then as you're going through and automation is occurring, you can look customer by customer, what percentage of their orders are automated, what percentage of their steps are automated, and then overall improve the cycle time and your on-time delivery. So those are the 5 areas that process mining helps in order to cash: process discovery, cycle time, process performance, conformance, and automation. We have a few questions in the chat. If there are others, go ahead and enter those, and I will answer them. First question is actually a really good one. I guess I didn't talk about early. So does process mining only work with ERP systems? That's a great question. I mentioned ERP systems, but process mining can extract data from any system, any transactional system that has at least 3 pieces of information. First, you need activities or events. You need to know what happened. So it needs to capture what happened in the process. Second, it needs to timestamp when that activity happened. So date and time of that activity. And then third, we need a case ID. We need a transaction ID that we can use to track this case from the start to the finish. And with those 3 pieces of information, process mining algorithms can reverse engineer the process, show you process performance, conformance, and automation. Typically, any system would have that, from a Salesforce or a CRM system to ERP to Workday for HR or Greenhouse, or even an ITSM, a ServiceNow or a Salesforce Sales Cloud, would all capture the information that we need to make that happen. One other question here: what data is required? So I mentioned that before. So the data required is only 3: transaction ID, activity or event name, and a timestamp of when that event happened. So there's a few more questions. I think we're about out of time, so I'll take those offline, and we'll expect a follow-up in your email or a phone call to answer those for you. If you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to reach out, info@mindsy.com or mindsy.com to go and get more information. And with that, I will end our webinar for the day. Again, order to cash, process mining for order to cash. Thank you. Thank you for your time.